Succession. Is it a litmus test of how power and the media really operate? Or is it just a soap opera for the bourgeoisie? Hello there, you 6.4 million awakening wonders. Thanks for joining me on this voyage to truth and freedom. Turn on the notification bell right now and subscribe to our channel. We make this content every single day. I want you to watch all of it. We need you to watch all of it. Have you been watching Succession? Oh no, he's dead. All of that kind of stuff. Succession is a fantastic and fascinating show, if you ask me. A brilliant parody, pastiche, stroke, observation on how media moguls operate in the modern world, the intersection between politics and media, which, let's face it, it's pretty intersected at this point. There are aspects of it that I feel bear strong biases, i.e. it ultimately appears to be a show that believes that the liberal establishment can save us all and that there are goodies and baddies within that system. Let me know if you think it's as simple as that, or whether you believe that the system in its entirety needs a deep reckoning. Here is my series in which I analyse Succession. Stay to the end, you'll love it, and let me know in the chat what other cultural artifacts you'd like to see me analysing. And now we're going to analyse Succession. Everyone's talking about Succession. Some people saying it's a modern day Shakespeare because it deals with ideas like legacy, power, rivalry within a family, what happens in the power vacuum left after the death of a tyrant. But instead of it being set in like Jacobean England, it's of course set in contemporary America with the Roy family, a very obvious stand-in for the Murdoch family, ATN being Fox News, and characters like Mencken being sort of de facto Trumps, like Donald Trump. So let's have a look at, this is a preview for episode 8, so we can sort of get into some of the things that we discussed. Oh, there will be spoilers in this. If you're like a person that's trying to avoid spoilers, we're gonna spoil it. Have a look.
Information. It's like a bottle of fine wine. You save it for a special occasion, and then you smash someone's face in with it.
This could be.
Once heard from someone that Rupert Murdoch actually does only care about information.
Right.
If you talk to Rupert Murdoch, you don't want to hear anything. He just like, oh, what's going on? Right. He doesn't want to, like, if you start going, do you know, actually, Rupert, it reminds me, like, no, listen, that's what
You've misunderstood.
That's in opinion, what you've gone into there. He just wants information. And I once also heard that he's like Mephistopheles, that he sort of acts like he's never going to die. And like he just, like, even if he doesn't get what he wants, he knows that in time it will come. So that little line about information and weaponizing information from Tom Whamgam,
Yeah.
is that his name? Like, that's good. Everyone, do you know? Everyone's watching Succession. Everyone you know watches Succession, don't they?
Yeah.
So,
Everyone
like,
loves
probably
it.
we know a lot of people that work in media. Probably we know a lot of people that live in cities. But one of the things I want to bring to the forefront is it is accepting the framing of contemporary political debate, i.e. the Republican Party under perhaps that's been taken hostage by this character, Mencken, who's not a character they spend a lot of real estate on in this season, but the previous seasons they sort of set him up as a demagogic figure. He's sort of obviously a stand-in for Trump. And the Democrat Party, I don't think it focuses enough, for my tastes, on the what I would call ubiquitous corruption between both parties. It gives you the idea that were the Democrats to win this election, because this particular episode is set on election night, were the Democrats to win, everything would be peachy creamy. But when you look at stuff like Russiagate, when you look at military industrial complex, when you look at Joe Biden saying nothing will change, when you look at the pledges that were made in, you know, when you look at the ongoing wars, the way that wars are funded, that kind of framing doesn't make, like, the whole framing that was prevailed around the Trump presidency, for me, is like the framing at the beginning of COVID, no longer relevant. You can't use those arguments anymore. You can't say, like, and remember, I'm not saying that Trump is anything, you know, I've got no strong view on Trump. I'm not a pro-Trump person. I know loads of you lot love him. But you can't continue to say, like, we have to make sure Trump doesn't get in. We have to make sure that Biden gets in. Like, as if there are clear lines between good and evil.
Sure.
Because it's plain that the system itself, the deep state, globalist corporate interests are able to prevail regardless of who's in power.
It's interesting, a story we didn't get to before, but it was about weapons sales and Biden selling weapons to the majority of the world's autocracies. It's his weapon sales have gone up under Biden than Trump. So when Biden came in, he was like, you talked about a battle between democracies and autocracies. That was the rhetoric. But actually, weapons sales to those autocracies has gone up.
Thank God Biden beat Trump. Now we can sell more weapons to authorities. Phew, we got that deal with. It's so much better. It's like again, I like this. And there is that headline. The show kind of accepts the framing of what I would call the neoliberal establishment, which fetishizes what it believes to be the small differences between itself and the sort of libertarian right, and celebrates and revels in those differences. Like, oh, look, we're better than you in this area, but what about these selling weapons to the majority of the world's right? It's not. We don't sell weapons to all of the world's autocracies. Is it the majority? Yes, it's the majority of the world's autocracies.
Interesting, because there was this moment one day, it felt like in terms of our world and the way that we see it, and as you say, kind of what the Democrat Party get up to as well as the Republicans, that the more authentic view was Roman's in the room when he was like, it doesn't matter who gets into power. That felt like the more genuine version. And also the more, in terms of in keeping with, this is a media organisation that exists to make money. That felt like I could imagine that. But maybe Rupert Murdoch isn't like that. I've no idea. Maybe he is, in terms of like the comparisons between Brian Cox's character and Rupert Murdoch. Stuff around Tucker and at the moment that we're kind of understanding is that maybe Rupert Murdoch does have a world view. I don't know.
I feel like I like Roman Roy, the younger son's perspective. I feel like he's a nihilistic individual that don't care. It's a TV show. It's a TV show. There is no meaning. Like the character of Kendall, conflicted idealist trying to fill his father's shoes ineffectually. Shiv trying to become a different kind of a different expression of power, but in my view, ultimately as corrupt. I mean, it's definitely like a really brilliant television program. Brilliant, because you can talk about it even in these terms. But what I do query is it's sort of the presumption that there's a meaningful difference between the two parties.
There were the moments, again, spoilers, but in last night's show or this week's show, where they were talking about if Meghan gets in and how awful things would be. And that was the first time I thought, this feels a bit reductive. And I've never said that about Succession ever.
Yeah, because it is ultimately, I suppose, let us know in the chat in the comments if you agree, a satire on Fox, Trump, and the relationship between the media and power. And it's beautifully satirized. And perhaps it's unfair to offer this kind of criticism because perhaps you have to have certain lines between good and evil.
For drama.
For the purposes of drama. If you go like, hold on a minute, both of these parties are corrupt, then there would be no dramatic tension in that episode. Yeah, fair enough.
The most important election in our lifetime.
I feel sick.
Oh, why? It's fun. It's only spicy because if my team wins, they're gonna shoot your team.
Give me some sugar, man. Maybe everyone voted for me. We don't know.
Schrodinger's cat.
Schrodinger's cat, Tom. This is crazy.
We all want to stop Madsen, right?
Every vote must be counted. This is about the future of the country.
False flag.
The character of Con, he's like sort of good value with his sort of narcissistic pursuit of power that he doesn't actually really care about at all. He was really easily persuaded that he'd like to. When they goes, would you like to be ambassador? He was offered a role of ambassador in order to step down. In the previous episode, they go, well, would you like a man or something? He goes, seems a bit car bomby. Are we going to be in a compound? Is it above ground? I like that, and I suppose what it's one of those things that feels true. It's a bit like The Crown in a way. Even in areas where you feel, and the royal family strongly protest that it is inaccurate, and we recognise that drama is about distillation and concentration and indeed exaggeration and amplification. That's the point of theatre, to distill and present symbols and narratives that through clarity are able to sort of stimulate a kind of recognition of broader and deeper themes. If it was like, things that are ultra true are sort of boring and have to include long passages of meaninglessness.
But that moment with Con, there's moments with him where you think, surely a wannabe president or politician wouldn't behave like that. But like career politicians, we know it. I mean, what lobbying? What is lobbying? What is these politicians who take millions and millions from big pharma, for example? If you were like an honest politician who wanted to do their their job and represent people, you wouldn't take millions of dollars from the pharmaceutical industry. You just wouldn't. You'd be like, your principles. So when you see like a representation of politics in that form, it's not, I mean, he plays it quite comedically in a way, but it's not actually that funny in reality.
No. I like the character of Mattson. I think he is a brilliant hybrid of Elon Musk and Zuckerberg, and sort of captures the geek glamour of these powerful new barons and magnates. And I suppose based on what I observe to be the relationship between this show and the reality that it's satirizing, I would have to guess that Mattson will come out on top
in the end.
Because it seems that one of the tensions we're experiencing, particularly according to the analysis of the influential Martin Gurry, whose book The Revolt of the Public informs many of the opinions shared certainly by me on this show, is that what we're witnessing is the end of old elites and the emergence of new elites, the inability of establishment power to recognize that the game that they've been playing has now changed. They don't understand the lexicon, nomenclature, or dynamics of emergent technology and its ability to influence power. And indeed, the broader themes that we talk about continually on this show of centralized authority and the rise of authoritarianism, apparently on the left, through censorship, legitimization of surveillance, lockdowns, and the way that they were perhaps stuck to beyond their facility, the moralization and imposition of certain medicines, the exaggeration of their positive impact, all point to ways to legitimize authority. We're only like, all authoritarianism says that it's doing the right thing, though. You know, whether that's the monstrous dictators of the 20th century, they were not like, and now a genocide. It was like, we've got to do this stuff because X, Y, Z, mythology, this, Wagner, that, trains run on time, the other. You know, like, so when, and of course I'm not making comparisons, I'm just saying that authoritarianism doesn't overtly tell you that it's wrong. You have to believe in the legitimacy of your own power. And so I feel like based on that this is my guess of what will happen. Shiv will win. I feel that like will be just because she's on a down note at the moment.
There's going to be
has to be an ascent, possibly, and will become reconciled with Tom, and that Mattson will be empowered and the deal will go through, so that we get the idea that, oh no, even though this old power dynamic of these corrupt Murdoch-like individuals has been broken down, it's been replaced by a similarly corrupt...
Who's the real successor?
Succession is a new...
not necessarily the family. It's the new power.
Because from a TV perspective, I've often wanted it to be Greg.
Of course, it'd be
like
amazing.
A hapless sort of goonish guy.
The moment at the start of that episode where Tom was like talking about how nervous he was and what awful day he's got planned, and then Greg just goes, I'm having quite a nice day. So brilliant.
Yeah, he's really sweet.
That's where like Succession for me, like how, you know, we're talking about like the one moment of maybe it being a touch reductive for drama's sake, but the way in which this stuff with Mattson and Gojo and its kind of commentary about big tech maybe taking over, and like the way in which they talk about Brian Cox's character being able to affect elections, the ability for big tech to now do that. You know, I mean, literally there was a article this week about how big tech are now richer and more powerful than most countries, and it's amazing the way in which that's going and the way in which Succession kind of deals with that. It's really impressive.
In a way, because we have accepted taxonomies of power that relate to previous dynamics, like a nation is a powerful thing, or even corporations are powerful things, we are unable to even mentally envisage what new power actually looks like. I also like the bit where Greg goes, I drank things that maybe aren't drinks. I drank things that aren't drinks. I was dancing with an old man. It's particularly good, I think, because of Jesse Armstrong's DNA. It providing brilliantly nuanced and comedic dialogue, which separates it from shows that are of a comparable aesthetic but perhaps take themselves more seriously. For me, the comedy is something
because he talks about, even goes further with the old man, doesn't he? The old man, he says like he was nervous or something, he was uncomfortable. I didn't need that detail.
He's a really good actor, that bloke. They're all brilliant, aren't they?
Amazing.
So, yeah, it's a sort of a fantastic show. But let us know what you think in the chat and the comments about that show. Is it an accurate appraisal of the way that power operates? If you are a person that really believes, for example, in the Republican Party and love Donald Trump, do you sort of feel like, good, Mencken's won? You! Like, do you sort of, does it sort of play out that way in your, like, in accordance with your own beliefs and faith?
Well, let me know in the comments in the chat what you thought of that. Let me know what other shows, movies, books you'd like to see me review. Send them to me. Remember, if you join me on my locals community, you get even more access to this stuff every single day. We're back on Rumble from the 5th of June. In the meantime, stay free.